It's Monday, December 17th, 2012, and let's talk about what happened this weekend over at xdadevelopers.com. First up, as usual, device update news. The LG G2x received an unofficial port of CyanogenMod 10.1 this past week sometime, and that's thanks to XDA forum member Adam PK. For the most part, everything seems to be working pretty well with it. There are some battery issues and some radio issues that they're working on. There were some issues earlier on with audio, but they've gotten that sorted out. Also, XDA recognized developer and contributor Leloir released an AOSP-based Pure ROM 4.2.1 Android version for the HTC One X Plus. And the cool thing about that, it's actually following the name Pure. It doesn't have anything else other than Android AOSP stuff in it. So it doesn't have any mods, any add-ons, anything. It doesn't even have super user, so it doesn't have root, of course. So if you do want to have this rooted, you may have to actually add super user into it beforehand. The only thing that we know of that's not working on it is Bluetooth with Bluetooth headsets. So unless that is a deal breaker for you, this might be a good way to go if you're interested in looking at the AOSP build for 4.2.1 on the One X Plus. And speaking of 4.2.1, XDA senior member NYCBJR has released a version of 4.2.1 for the Asus Transformer TF700T. Looking again, it says TF700. Not sure. I don't know enough about the Asus product line to know if there's a 700 and a 700T. I thought they were one and the same. So feel free to call me a noob on that one. I just don't own the devices, so I don't really know. Either way, the major issues with this one are camera and GPS, and that seems to be pretty common with a lot of newer devices and a lot of Asus devices. But yeah, on a 10-inch tablet, I can't honestly see spending a ton of time with the camera and the GPS, so if you have the TF700 and you're interested in trying this one out, may be worth a look, although he mentions in the thread this is the last update he's going to do to it. He is a part of Team Baked, and he's going to be moving it into, I think the ROM is called Baked Beans, so they're going to be moving on to other types of development for the same product, so you may just want to follow up on the thread and see where they're going with it. And the last one to mention, yes, of course, the HTC HD2. It lives! XDA recognized developer SportStar89 has released a ROM for Android 4.2 for the HD2. In terms of what's wrong with it, it's a short list and it doesn't sound terrible, but Wi-Fi and it's painfully slow. So Wi-Fi doesn't work. Not generally a huge deal. There are a lot of people that is a big deal for, but the painfully slow part is what's driving a lot of people away from it immediately. However, development on it is not done yet, of course. The thread itself has been closed for the time being, at least as of the time of the article being written, so that it can be updated to work with CM 10.1 to pull in all of the optimizations that have been made for CyanogenMod. But the original ROM is still out there. If you have the HD2 and you want to try the latest, greatest sort of version of Android, you may want to give this a look. But do keep in mind the painfully slow part, and do make sure to read through the forum thread because it may not be terribly long before the CM 10.1 stuff is rolled into it as well. Now, speaking of the latest and greatest versions of Android, what better way than by talking about a Nexus? Nexus 4 hasn't been out for terribly long now, and there's been a laundry list of things that are good and bad about it. People complaining about not having LTE or having LTE that's very limited. Some weird issues with the images on the Google server disappearing, and then I don't know if they ever actually ended up coming back. But one of the things, and it seems like a relatively minor thing, but given the newness of the device and relatively the price of the device, it really shouldn't be an issue. A lot of people are reporting lots of noise in the videos that they make with this device. Well, thanks to XDA recognized contributor Mohit1234, there may be sort of a fix for that. He's released a mod of sorts that increased the video bitrate from 12 megabits per second up to 20 megabits per second. Realistically, all you have to do this is have a rooted device, go into the media profiles XML file and change it from 12 megabits to 20 or however high you want to make it. Keeping in mind that the higher you make it, eventually you're going to hit a sort of a ceiling with the terms of the sensor and the lens, and it doesn't matter if you make it 12 billion megabits per second. With the lens and the sensor, you're going to be limited. So 20 is a good place that people have found to sort of be. But the reports that are coming in from it say that it helps to reduce the noise. It does make the file size significantly larger because you're increasing it by a significant amount. But at the same time, if you can get better images, better video quality at the very least there, it's not going to help your images, so better video quality. It might be worthwhile to at least take a look. If you're a video file on your mobile device like I tend to be occasionally, get your device rooted, make sure your system partition is mounted as read-write, and go into that media profiles XML file and make the change needed. reboot, and you're done. 1080p video at 20 megabits per second, very, very nice stuff. And the last thing I thought I would talk about, yes, this is going to be a bit of a short video today. One of the most interesting things about Android 4.2 and on is the ability to have multiple user, fast user switching type stuff. But one of the things I keep hearing from people is what happens to the apps. If I buy an app on the device, does it transfer to all of the users? If I download an app, does everybody get it? Up to this point, no. So if you have 3 or 4 users on your device, people in your family, and you buy an app on one account, it doesn't show up for anybody else. If you just download a free app, it has to be downloaded again for every single person who has it and wants to use it. That's not really optimal. And I mean, if you're using your home data connection or your tethered data connection and you're limited in some way, that's gonna suck. So XDA comes to the rescue again. XDA forum member JeepGuy04 has released an application that will allow you to synchronize some applications between users on your device. It mentions specifically the Nexus 7. I would assume that it will work on whatever 4.2, but just keep in mind that it might only be Nexus 7. It is still to be considered a beta application, may not work 100% right, hasn't been thoroughly tested with paid apps, and it is probable that Google is going to find a way to work around this to keep it from doing paid apps, because they want you to buy it for every account that has access to it. But realistically, if you've got an app that you've paid $20, $30, $40, $100 for, and you have it on your device, you should be able to use it for everybody who uses that device. I guess that gets back to the idea of licensing on a per user or a per device basis. And realistically, if you've paid that much for an application, you're going to want to be able to use it on all of the devices that you have access to. So like your phones and your tablets and whatever else. You may not want to be able to share it with other people. I don't know. This gets back to the whole idea of DRM, and that's not something I'm a huge fan of. But one way or another, if you're running a device that has this multiple user switching capability like the Nexus 7, and you're interested in transferring applications between your users so you don't have to download them over and over and over again, go take a look at this application, read through the forum thread, and see if you can make it work for you. Anyway, quick video. That's going to be about all from me for today. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye, guys.